Okay.
Another controversial podcast.
Yeah, there we go.
Podcast. I'm John Stellman, by the way, with Vince Morales and John Adams. I want to remind you people out there, if you do have complaints, criticisms, an opposing point of view, take part in the show. You can go to the webpage, and on the far right-hand side, you'll see an icon, Be on the Show. Just click on that. It'll take you to a voicemail. You can record your voicemail. The following week, we'll bring that voicemail and put it live on the show and comment back on it. So if you want to vent your frustrations, go ahead and, be on the show and give us a voicemail, and we'll certainly get back and talk to you about that. All right, tonight, loaded with stuff. We'll start out with the NBA Finals. I thought that was one of the best games of the Finals. It was competitive. Both teams had runs. It was fast-paced. The officials didn't mess it up too badly, although they had Love with 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes and Durant in trouble. But I really like the Warriors. I think the Warriors. I don't see why they can't be a force for years to come. I mean, they're not that old. They're in their prime. Durant has already said he would be willing to take less money to keep them together, as long as they can stay healthy. I think they have several more rings, in their future.
Yeah, that's the thing that they need to do is keep it intact. If they can keep their top 4 intact and happy. Curry, free agent this summer, says he doesn't want to leave, but still needs to get done. We're talking about $108 million payroll currently. That's without Curry. Yeah. He's in line for a max contract, 5 years, $207 million, $36 million the first year. So take that $108 million, add 36 to it. So now we got $144 million. And that is without Iguodala and Livingston and Pachulia, who are all free agents as well. So now you got to fill those other roles. If you're going to are you going to be able to re-sign Iguodala and Livingston at a reasonable rate? Because now you're at $144 million in payroll to keep that team intact. Now, the core is intact with that, but your bench, which was critical, which was terrific, not quite there. But they've already shown last year that to get Durant, they would clean house and just rebuild and just put more role players in there. They did that, last year. So they should be able to do it again. But Steph Curry made $12 million this year. Well, dang, made more than that. So,
it's a steal.
Mozgov, for sitting on the bench, is making more than that. And that's one of the things, from a Lakers point of view, and I'll get to that a little bit later, is that you look at that and you look at your roster and you look at your payroll and you go, we can't compete with this team. Yeah. And that's everybody in the NBA. Not, every team in the NBA, including the Cavaliers, they're just not quite ready to compete with the Warriors. But the payroll and free agency will wreak a little havoc for them. So we're going to have to see, because it's, Durant has an option, $27 million, says he's willing to restructure to, maybe do a 1-year deal for less money. Do you save enough to keep?
I actually think they're going to stay intact. I think everybody loves to play there. I think they like to play for Kerr. I think they like to play for those owners. I think it's internally, I think it's very positive to be a part of that whole system. I think the one guy that you kind of look at and you say is Thompson going to want to go be on his own team and kind of not be second or third fiddle anymore. And, I don't think Thompson got a lot of credit for the defense that he played.
He played very tough defense.
I know that he's known for his offense and the three-pointer, and that's what's so crazy about that team. You got 4 guys to 5 guys that can shoot three-pointers all day long, right? And I think Thompson really set himself up to, as a better defender, as an individual player there. But
he's tied up contractually. He's tied up for a number of years. So it's a matter of he may not be happy, but he's signed. I mean, he's he's on there for at least 2 to 3 more years. So
and they're going to build their own arena downtown. That thing's going to be a cash cow, and they're going to be able to make a lot of money off of that. Those tickets are going to go through the roof.
That could easily be a $200 million
no doubt
payroll.
Yep.
This for the forthcoming year, and then with a new arrangement in the collective bargaining agreement, who knows? I mean, that could 250, 300.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's scary.
I don't think anybody wants to leave, and I think they're going to be able to, like you said, fill those role players in. What's crazy is the guys that you mentioned. They're great. They fit in great in that system. I'd be shocked if there's. Yeah, you're probably going to lose a couple guys, but I think you can fill those guys. But keeping your core guys together is the key there. And I don't, unless Boston does something in the next year or so to really become a contender against the Cavaliers, but I just don't see anybody beating this team for. I know that you always say there's things can happen, and when I say that, it's based on health, that everybody's healtly,
exactly,
and everything's the
healthy.
same. But I mean, I don't know. I just think they're very dominant, and we could see this for a couple more years.
Comes back the same old thing. Do you want to win or do you want to be paid? I mean, a lot of those guys might be willing to take less money, to know that he's going to pick up 2 or 3 more rings.
Right.
It's all about money.
The cautionary tale for the Warriors is that with the Lakers and Kobe, do you give somebody a humongous max contract at the tail end of their career? They're okay right now. These guys are they're all under 30, but that's the cautionary tale. Do you give somebody who one contract, one bad signing can derail and put you on a different trajectory? I don't think that's going to happen with the Warriors. Like we said, just fill in the spaces. Iguodala.
Boy, that's
he's a Finals MVP.
Yeah, no, he scored 20 off the bench.
Yeah, 20 off the bench.
Exactly.
And played great defense. I mean, terrific defense. And even though he had 7, 5, 7, and 4 points in the first 4 games, comes up with the 20. Really was the difference.
Yeah, that's the most important game of the series too.
Yeah, really was the difference. And the Warriors bench, the Cavaliers top 4 doesn't quite match the Warriors top 4, but their bench, they're at the next 4 or 5 guys are nowhere near the Warriors, and that was the difference, and that was the absolute difference. Darren Williams.
Yeah.
Oh, he was dreadful. He had 5 points in the 4th game and none.
Yeah.
The rest of the other 4.
I don't know if he had any in the games before that.
No, 0, 0, 0, 5 in the 4th game, the game they won, and then 0 again. Shumpert 5, 6, 2, 5, and 0 in the last game. Jefferson, who's more in there for his defense, 9, 7, 1, 8, and 4. And then, and J.R. Smith, the problem, they got down in those first 2 games. He had 3 points in the first game, none in the second, and then he started to 16, 15, 25. He really started to feel it if it goes any further, but it wasn't enough. Kevin Love gets in foul trouble, and he had 9 points in the 3rd game and just 6 points in the 5th game.
Yeah.
The Warriors are a different breed.
They are.
But, LeBron finally did something that we were talking about in the last couple of weeks. He just said, forget it. I'm not dishing out anymore. And he just went right to the basket.
He took control. That's what he has to do.
He could have done that every single time down the court. Nobody can guard that guy. No. Right? And it got to the point where he was just so frustrated. He'd just go right to the bucket, a couple turns, and then, boom, lay it up or dunk it. And they would just let him do that.
Oh, when he starts down the lane, they get out of the way.
Right, yeah.
And
I'm texting Vince going, he could do that all day long. And then at the very end, we were talking about, there's 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and those guys are down 25 seconds. They're throwing up threes, Golden State. And you're like, what are you doing?
Don't let them back
dribble
in.
It out. I don't understand what they're doing.
LeBron, like he said in his post-game interview, there's nothing to be ashamed of. He left it all out on the court. And that's absolutely true. Mm-hmm. I think the problem, though, is that sometimes when you go back and you look at that game, it's hard to fault him for anything. He was in that game for 47, 48, 46 minutes of a 48. It was do or die, and he knew it.
I think
but there were plenty of times on defense when you isolate him, and he's just standing around. Yeah. And that is not effort issue. That's not an effort issue. That's not to blame.
No.
That's fatigue.
Right.
Those are times when he probably should have been on the bench getting a blow at the end of a quarter and just wasn't.
But and to go back, because the bench is so bad.
Right.
You know,
the bench is so bad, and
Yeah.
because Ty Lue can't stand up to LeBron
Right.
James.
Yeah.
He just can't.
Yeah.
He just sort of rolls the ball out there for those guys.
Yeah.
But, I mean, LeBron was terrific. 28, 29, 39, 31, and 41.
Yeah, it was
Hard to fault him.
Yeah.
Or Kyrie, 38, 40, and 26.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was the pace.
right.
The problem was the pace.
And they push it.
Yeah,
They push it,
You know, when the Cavs were pushing it, they just fell right into the hands.
Mm-hmm.
They'd come down and they'd set up. They'd push it. Then they'd set up and they'd get a good shot and they'd score. And then the Warriors would be running the other way.
Track meet.
Yeah.
Every single time the ball went up, and if there was a rebound by the Warriors, they
They were gone.
took off.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amazing to see somebody like Durant, the veteran, trying to defending the three, and then leaking out and getting the fast break
Yeah,
points
yeah.
right after
Exactly.
they score. It's disheartening. You can't. That's hard. I mean, for anybody who's played sports, it's like, all right, we got one. Let's get a stop. Oh, and before you can even get the sentence
That's
out,
right.
Yeah.
they're scoring on you.
Right.
That's deflating.
Yeah. There's really no way to defend him. What are you going to do?
You slow it down.
Yeah.
You slow it down.
Slow it off,
You
yeah.
can't. Yeah. You got to allow them to come to your pace.
Yeah, you slow it down. You pound it down.
Unless you have the players to go ahead and battle them with
Right.
their pace. But if you don't, on a situation like, you need to slow things down.
And anybody who's going to beat them needs to hit threes.
Yeah.
They just need to hit threes.
And they did, actually, didn't they? In Game 4, they hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Game 4, they were out of their minds.
He gave me a great statistic, though, this morning or yesterday that was absolutely mind-blowing. And I didn't know if you wanted to share that on.
Sure.
Yeah.
We talking about the referee?
Yeah.
So, a lot of things were said about the refereeing and how bad
In
it was
Game 4.
in Game 4 and how uneven and
Right.
that sort of thing, and sort of the conspiracy theorists of, one of my quotes was, the refs got the memo from Silver, extend this series.
Really?
And the refs seemed to play into that. So I shared a statistic that I saw, and, as a gambler, you try to find any angle you can.
Not saying that Vinny's.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that. So Mike Callahan, who was one of the refs in that Game 4, did not ref in Game 5. In the last 12 games that he's refed for Cleveland, they're 12-0. The last 9 games for Golden State, 4-5. That's their record. So with Callahan as the referee, there's a distinct advantage for the Cavaliers. And the last 3 games head-to-head with Callahan as a ref, the Cavs are 3-0.
So
And it stayed true.
what games did he ref then in this? Just the
That was
Game
it.
3?
Game 4.
Game 4.
I think. I'd have to look back at it, but Game 4. Well, obviously Game 4 because the Cavs didn't win.
Because they needed it, yeah.
Yeah, the Cavs didn't win in 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So obviously, these guys get there by merit. They're elevated to these spots and they shake it up a little bit. So you don't see the same referees in back-to-back games. And but to me, that's one of those things where, as a gambler, you look at that and you just go, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that was a little.
Is it just coincidence that the Cavs are 12-0
Yeah.
and a team that won 70 games last year and 60 games this year is 4-5 in their last 9 games that this guy's refereed?
Yeah.
It's all about style. It's all about what he calls, and sometimes guys just have it in for a team.
I'd like to see how many free throws that LeBron has shot in the games that he officiated.
It's a good statistic. Somebody should look it up.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, while we're on the NBA, I think Vince has some Laker rumors for us.
Yeah, I mean the Laker rumors are flying fast and furious. It's pretty crazy because there was the rumors. Well, it's not a rumor, but Josh Jackson is working out for a second time with the Lakers today. Canceled his workout with the Celtics on Monday. And on Monday, there was a rumor being reported by a reporter in Arizona, obviously following the Suns and trying to figure out if they're going to be able to get Josh Jackson, who said that he was connecting the dots. He hadn't heard specifically that this was somebody telling him this, but that he was connecting the dots and asking around, and that it seems like the Lakers have promised Josh Jackson that they will take him with the second pick.
Wow.
Again, that could just be sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, to try and see if they can get some value for that if they decide to trade it or move down. But it's very interesting because on the heels of that is when it was right after that he had canceled with the Celtics and then signed up to try out again, have another tryout with the Lakers, another workout with the Lakers. Surprising to me.
So where's Phoenix due to pick?
What are they, 4th or 5th?
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, right in the mix. Right in the mix.
Well, I think Sacramento's got 5 and 10. I think they got 4 maybe.
Yeah.
So would they try to trade up to get to 2?
It's possible, and
then
that
the Lakers
could
go down to 4
Yeah.
and maybe get a player. Is that what they're?
The Lakers want as much value for that as possible, which is why they're the ones who probably allowed it to leak that Ball wasn't as fit as he should have been for that workout, which was the other rumor.
Right.
And again, that was reported in the OC Register. Medina, I think, was the writer who reported that. So is it gamesmanship? Are these actual leaks? Are these true? I don't know. But what we do know is what's being reported, and that is that Ball was not fit. The Lakers are not as impressed with him, and that Josh Jackson is working out a second time for the Lakers. And there are rumors that he's been told they're going to pick him with the second pick.
So the Russell and so the guards stay intact.
Right. And you get a 6'8" wing guy. And, and there are going to be problems with Josh Jackson. Obviously, not a high integrity guy with some of the problems that he had. 3 hit and runs, on campus, some problems with, one of the gals that he hit in the car, who he was there when somebody else from his team allegedly struck her physically, abusively. So, young kid, deserves a second chance, but doesn't seem like a super high integrity kid. So we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so the Lakers have a lot of play. $82 million on the payroll right now. So with the second pick, they're holding the cards right now, and it looks like if
that's the way that you're talking, they just don't feel confident with any of these kids.
It's
that they wonder if they could trade it away to get a veteran, or not a veteran, but a guy that's in his prime, or near his prime.
Right. Again,
that's a possibility.
Everybody thinks that when you have that pick, the second pick overall, you obviously think that there's high value to it. When you're trading for it, you try to diminish the value of it. It's like, you want a seasoned player. It just depends on if somebody looks, like we said before, if somebody looks at Ball and says, that's a transformative player for our team. That's who we want. We'll trade you X, Y, and Z to move up to that. And then the Lakers can get one of the guys at a better value lower in the draft.
Right.
The Lakers are also lucky in that they've got the 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Second and 28th.
Yeah.
So they've got some bargaining chips.
Yeah.
If they go after it. But again, who knows if Paul George or Jimmy Butler are going to be available. That likely isn't going to happen. It just probably won't happen. But lots of things are going to unfold here in the next few days. Though I think the one slam dunk seems to be that Markelle Fultz is, even though he's met with the Lakers or is meeting with the Lakers this week, he's only pretty much worked out for the Celtics, and that seems to be where that's going.
Right. Yeah, that lots going to go on between now and
good input there.
Draft day, and should be interesting. Let's switch gears and talk about the Pens.
Oh yeah, the Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup. Now is that that's the first time that we've repeated since what, 97, 98 Detroit?
Yeah, I think
Something
it's been Detroit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's been about 19 years, I think.
It was it was a good hockey game. I mean, I wish there was more scoring to it, but I just think Murray outplayed Rene. Is more or less what it was. I think Nashville got, how do I say this politely, but they got, one taken away from them. I thought that was a goal, and then with the way that the referee was put to where the puck went on to Murray. He thought Murray had it, so he blew his whistle, but the puck was loose on the backside, and they scored. But he had already blown the whistle dead, and that puck was not in Murray. I mean, it was still loose, and they go up 1-0. I think it would have been in the second period, beginning of the second period, and and the Pins don't score till a minute 52 left in the game. So it was kind of a I thought both teams played great. The Predators were physical at the very beginning. They were forechecking was great, but Vince, we've talked about this, John. Special teams. I mean,
that's what it's all about.
The Pins didn't. I don't think they got a power play till the third period. And the Predators they even had a 5-on-3 at one point. They just never scored, and Murray just stood on his head, and he did a great job. And as that game progresses, that veteran leadership, and those guys have been there before. They know what to do. I thought it was great for Nashville. I mean, the fans just went absolutely nuts. They have bought into that whole team, and it was great. I think it was great for hockey. That a team that's in Nashville can be so successful and small town, and so I thought it was great for hockey overall.
It shows that everybody's got a chance, really. I mean, if you play your cards right.
But I think it was great. I think the Predators are there for a while, and I think they're going to contend for a while, and But again, it came down to special teams. I mean, they had you have to take advantage of those power plays, especially when you're 5-on-3.
5-on-3.
Right. And I just think that the Pins outplayed them in those certain situations, and ended up.
In retrospect, the Penguins were just a better team, and I think we all sort of got lulled into thinking, this Nashville team can, look at what they did to get here, and they're sort of coming out of nowhere, and they can hang, and they're really good defensively, and I think the bottom line is that in retrospect, you look back and go, we bought into that. The Penguins are really good. They make it back to back to back. I mean, that may be 3 in a row. They're the favorites in Vegas, 8-1 favorites to repeat next year. They're not losing anybody of any significance. It looks like everybody's
they'll
intact.
probably lose that backup goalie.
Yeah, they'll lose a goalie, but nothing substantive. For what they took into winning those 2 cups. And they've got the rookie Gensel, who just is a scoring machine. Right, I mean, he's just goals and assists in the postseason, and young talent to go alongside, a guy who can't be called the kid anymore. Crosby, who is a seasoned veteran with tons of experience, and now back-to-back cups, and they'll be right there again.
Well, actually, the next Predator that scored the goal to win. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Well, they went in that one series against Washington, who had the best point total in the league. Went in and won Game 7, didn't they, in Washington?
Yeah, but you and I have talked about this. They're always going to win the President's Trophy, right? I'll believe it when they ever get to the final again. I mean, if they're going to continue to win these, win the league all the time and win the point totals and all that stuff, but. You know what? Get to the finals.
Season starts when the playoffs begin.
Right, exactly. And then, as you can see, who's hot going in, right? And then run with that. So, but I thought it was a good final. I always wish you could watch a Game 7, and it's a different situation. But I'm just totally against. Like, it's hard for me to watch the finish. Now, it's so great that if you clinch your Stanley Cup at home, it's so much better. I mean, there was so much booing. I mean, Bettman's always going to get booed, but even when Crosby grabs the trophy and he starts and they're booing him, and it's kind of weird. It's like different story when you're in Golden State, right? And you watch them win the NBA championship last night at home. It's just
they're a young hockey franchise, and they'll learn.
Yeah,
they'll learn.
Yeah.
You'll be back. Act like it.
Right. Yeah.
Shake their hands.
Right.
Cheer them politely.
Right. So I thought it was great. I think it was great for Nashville. I think it's, I think they're a club to be.
Well, like you say, it's good to have a small market team like that. Mm-hmm. Didn't Carolina won it not too many years ago? Same situation. Small.
And I know they're in our same league, but I mean, it's going to be fun to watch Edmonton next year too.
Edmonton's going to be very good.
Yeah.
Edmonton. While we're on hockey, I think Vince had something to talk about.
Just
the Kings.
A couple of things. With regard to the Kings, obviously the expansion draft is next week. So over the weekend, all 30 NHL franchises have to submit their protected list, and then the Golden Knights have a couple of days to sort of interview players, see who's on the lists that they might be interested in, decide what's going on. So once the list is submitted, there's no trades, no waivers. Everybody's locked in. You're just locked down. Mm-hmm. So any trades that are going to happen have to come before then. And then on the 21st is when the Golden Knights submit the list of players that they've picked. And again, it's one from each 30 teams. So they have to pick a goaltender, 14 defensemen, 9 defensemen, 14 forwards, and 3 goalies. So that's how they make up their team. And again, it's at least 20 of them must be under contract for the entire 2017-18 season. There are certain parameters, guidelines, 60 to 100% of what the projected salary cap is. So they can't just take a bunch of guys who are cheap. They have to take guys with bigger salaries to meet those requirements. So there are things that they're allowed to do, like trade. So say the Kings say, look, we don't want you to take, we can't protect this guy, X. So we don't want you to take him. So in exchange for your guarantee that you won't take him, we, for instance, they are suggesting that Dustin Brown will be traded to them for, their promise that they won't take anybody off of their list, or that they will take Dustin Brown off of the unprotected list. And then the Kings will also have to give a first-round pick, and then they'd get some sort of things to get around it. But that seems to be getting some traction. The Dustin Brown to the Golden Knights. Obviously the other guy is Gaborik, who another big contract, a little bit older. Who the Golden Knights might consider taking or trading for. Just because of the salary, that they want to meet their threshold. If they want to go young, they still have to get guys who have certain experience and have a salary that meets that 60% requirement. So that could happen, and those things will be happening in the next. Today I think, or yesterday was the last day for teams to ask players with the no movement clauses to waive them. So if somebody says, I have a no movement, can't trade me or put me on an unprotected list. Today was the last day for those guys to waive that, and I haven't heard any news on anybody who's waived their no movement clause.
I know the Ducks were asking Bieska to waive that, so that they want to protect Manson or Vatanen.
Yeah.
Plus Lindholm and Fowler.
Yeah.
And Bieska is going to be 36 on Friday, making $4 million. And the Ducks don't feel that he would be necessarily taken by Las Vegas. But then I heard their general manager making comments similar to what you'd said, that they're already talking to the Vegas about deals where they won't pick somebody that's
maybe we will, maybe we won't.
Protected.
What will you give us to guarantee that we won't take him?
Yeah,
exactly.
And that plays right into the hands. And the NHL has set this expansion up so that Golden Knights can compete.
Right.
That they won't just be a walkover. And that's
where it should be.
That's fine. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. And teams are going to lose somebody that they didn't want to lose. Most teams are going to lose somebody they didn't want to lose. But only one guy. So,
yeah, and on the Knights, on their side, they got to put a competitive team out there. It's not going to just be a bunch of rookies. So they got to be able to put something that's competitive.
Right.
So
like we talked about before, each team has to protect at least 9. and there are some who can't be moved. That must be protected. So now if you say, we get to protect 9, at least 9, could be 11 if you choose the other where you're doing different, where you're choosing to protect different guys. What's going to happen, right? So you protect certain guys, and I don't know. So the way that you can do it is 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie, or 8 skaters and 1 goalie. Again, if you want to protect more than 3 defensemen, like the Kings might, or perhaps Anaheim, you either have to make a deal or you got to protect
8
fewer guys.
Yeah,
8 skaters. Mm. That's interesting.
And then you got to look at those 8 skaters and say how many of those are guaranteed that you can't trade them, or there are no trade clauses and stuff. So with us, it's Perry and Getzloff, and
I think somebody else too.
Yeah.
Kessler.
Yeah, Kessler. Yeah.
So interesting. It's going to be interesting.
And that's all going down next on the 21st, right?
Day before the
or the 20th.
The list of protected players comes out on the 17th. Mm. And then the actual picks are submitted on the 21st.
That's Saturday.
So Sunday, not Sunday.
Monday's the 19th. So I know that.
So the Wednesday, the 21st, is when the NHL will announce the expansion selections.
Isn't the NBA? The NBA is the 22nd, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's gonna be nuts. That's gonna be crazy.
So I just wanted to mention one other thing, is that the Kings signed a new play-by-play guy, Alex Faust, who's 28 years old. From
replace Bob.
Yep. And he's an interesting character, and I encourage people to kind of go out and read more about him. He's broadcast hockey. He's broadcast some college football. For Fox Sports and the New England Sports Network and NBC Sports Network, and native Brooklyn guy. So he graduated from Northeastern University, and this was an interesting thing that the Kings had released. After graduation, Faust worked for 4 years for a major accounting firm as a business analyst and consultant.
Wow.
So for his new role with the Kings as the play-by-play guy, he is also expected to contribute to the organization in a year-round role. In a similar consulting business analyst that's going to be integrated through the business operations. So he will work closely with the organization's data intelligence and help develop analytics. Wow. Obviously the personnel department can use, right, and also he can use on the air. So it sounds like this kid could someday be in the front office as well. I mean,
exactly,
or have a role in a dual role as a play-by-play guy and a role in the front office, because he's already going to be doing some, a lot of analytics, and that's exactly where the Kings wanted to go. So this is a perfect pick. They figured this kid, not only can he be a play-by-play guy, he's got this business analyst, consultant, economics and political science background where we can tap into this research and use him year-round.
Use all his talents.
Absolutely.
Multi-talented.
Yeah.
And he seems like a really interesting kid, and there's lots of interviews out there, so I encourage people to kind of figure that out and learn more about him, because I think he's going to be great for the Kings.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the MLB draft.
Okay.
I think Vince wants to talk about the number 1 pick, the Dodgers' number 1 pick.
We can talk about that, but I think the headline here is that there were 5 Orange County high schoolers that were selected on day 1 in either the first round or the second round. Just stunning. I mean, we've always known that California, in general, and specifically Southern California, is just a hotbed of talent but this just a lot of young talent. So 5 Orange County high schoolers. So there's Royce Lewis from J. Sarah, went number 1 of the Twins. Nick Prado, 14th overall from Huntington Beach, first baseman. In the second round, his teammate Hagen Danner, a catcher, went 61st to the Blue Jays. And then the kid from Dana Hills, Hans Kraus, right-handed pitcher from Dana Hills, big kid, throws hard and easy. 66th overall to, I think, the Rangers.
Yep.
And then Blake Hunt from Mater Dei, another catcher, went 69th overall, in the second round, San Diego Padres. Yeah. 5 Orange County high schoolers. And so I talked to the assistant varsity coach, Jake Formansky, because he's seen all of these kids and he's also seen Hunter Green. So his assessment is that as far as he was concerned, the top shortstop in the draft was Hunter Green from Notre Dame, Sherman Oaks, who went second overall to the Reds. But that, Royce Lewis was he's a terrific guy. But in Formansky's opinion, the second best shortstop. But that was like 1A, 1B, with those guys. And Krause, big kid throwing 92 and 93. Formansky says he just throws so free and easy that he can hit upwards of the high 90s. Got 3 pitches that he can get kids out with. And so he's pretty seasoned for a high school pitcher.
I've watched him pitch actually a couple times, and the kid's talent is absolutely through the roof. He needs to control his emotions. He lets the game get to him sometimes, and that's just going to be getting him
maturity,
out. A little bit of maturity, right?
Nuke Lelouch.
His brother went to USC last year and pitched for them. He can get a little fired up actually on the mound. I'm not saying Al Herbosky, but
I said Nuke Lelouch.
You're right, yeah, but. You're right. He's got 3 different. I watched him dunk a basketball during a halftime at a Dana Hills basketball game. Kid's got a ton of talent. His head, that's going to be their number one thing is how do we calm this kid down to pitch. I mean, he pitched on the USA team. He's a true talent. You need to control his emotions a little bit. Getting back to the number 1 and number 2 pick, I know Formansky talked about the best shortstop, but I think a while ago they shut that kid down as a pitcher, and Dave, in the first round, Dave and Jake, they didn't even have to face him because the consultant told them you're no longer throwing anymore. So in my mind, when a consultant's telling you you're not going to throw anymore, you're being drafted as a pitcher, not a shortstop.
Exactly.
I think the positive thing about it is, he's going to be a great hitting pitcher, probably, like a, Darren Dreifert in the past, or, Bumgardner or something like that. I don't know if the arm goes a little, haywire, you can always put him at shortstop or play him at third. And he has that but that kid throws 102 miles an hour as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he can top out. Yeah.
So in my mind, you're not a shortstop. No. You're a pitcher. And so that's kind of, I think, how the Twins saw this. They're like, we don't want to have a pitcher. We want to have a middle infielder. And that's probably why the kid went first. I agree.
And Lewis has definitely got a bigger, more athletic build. But you never know what that Hunter Green can sort of grow into. I mean, you look at his body and he's sort of lanky and tall, but there's muscle there, and you just wonder. I mean, wow. A-Rod is sort of like what pops out, that he could be a tall, shortstop.
Well, and that's the other thing is he throws 102. So is this kid more of a reliever than he is? Right. An actual right-handed starting pitcher, I don't know. I mean, these guys, I think what's great about that pick is they know they can go either direction with that kid. You know what? Hey, look, we went and watched him pitch, and you know what? You're going to be a better shortstop or whatever.
Exactly.
You're getting 2 for 1 there,
right.
type of deal. So
Angels number 1 pick was Jordan Adele from Ballard High School in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Jim Callis, the MLB.com analyst, says he's a high-risk, high-reward guy.
Yeah.
He's got speed. He's going to hit with power, but he also misses a lot of the pitches.
He strikes out a lot. Yeah. So.
And they picked up Griffin Channing.
Yeah,
UCLA.
the Bruin. Yeah.
And
21 years old. I mean, he's ready to
thrown 119 innings in the last 2 years. At UCLA. There's some things that came up in draft injury concerns where, these guys all have to submit MRIs, and there are some teams that looked at the MRI on this kid, and some of these guys didn't like what they saw. That being said, I read that when they fell into the Angels down at, I don't know what they get him at
47.
40. They were ecstatic that they got him. They said this is a steal of the draft. So I just, what scares me about it is I'm like, oh my gosh, we just got another pitcher that possibly could get hurt.
It's going to be injured.
That's
time
all
on
we
the
need
injury.
is another pitcher that's going to get hurt.
Well, it's funny. The Dodgers, with their first pick in the first round, 23rd overall, get a kid, Jaron Kendall, from Vanderbilt. He's an outfielder. And guess what? That's left-handed. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Okay, fellas. And you know what? And you know who they got as a pitcher? Morgan Cooper from the University of Texas.
Yeah.
Right-hander. Throws about 92, 94. You know what he had? Tommy John surgery in 2015. Boy, we are a funny organization, aren't we?
Who are scouting these guys?
Well, he had 110 strikeouts in 89 innings. This kid can throw.
He can throw.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers are not afraid to go after, obviously, McCarthy and Wood, guys who have had Tommy John surgery and look at that. They don't look at that as a complete blemish on their mark. But it's just funny, as the Dodgers, whether they're 4th through 7th ranked, their farm system is ranked somewhere between 4 and 7. It just depends on who you look at. They're in the top 10.
Right.
Their farm system is in the top 10. They don't have many holes to fill. It just feels funny, when you get a kid who's out of college and you think, okay, some little time at AA, a little time at AAA, you bring him into the majors, you think you'd get a righty stick, a big, stick, right? No.
And it's funny how you always look at, strong minor leagues, right? And the Cubs have actually had strong their first 3 picks, pitcher. I think the Yankees went like pitcher, and then they had a fielder, right? So it's just crazy. We've talked about having strong minor league systems and, probably good scouting reports. And you always so I went and looked at those guys and they just, pitcher, which, Dodgers are always good at finding pitchers. They've always been great. But
no question.
According to, the MLB website, they were very impressed with how the Angels drafted the first 2 kids. That's strong for your minor league system, which is just depleted. Done, so.
The other thing I found interesting, UCI, Keston Hiura, a hitter, Tommy John. That kid didn't throw a ball. I mean, they're going to expect him to, play.
Didn't he lead the
Brewers?
D1 though in hitting?
Oh yeah, he's the best. He was identified as the best hitter in the draft.
Really?
The best amateur.
So he just
hitter.
DH'd? Is that what he did?
That's all he did
Really?
for
Wow.
UCI. He didn't throw a ball.
Wow.
He's obviously going to have to throw a ball. So they're going to shut him down, get Tommy John on him, and that's an interesting investment. And they took him a lot higher than I think most people said. He's had Tommy John surgery. All he did was hit. He's a great hitter, but I think he was sort of being projected late
number 9?
teens, early 20, and he went top 10. Went top 10 to the Brewers. But great, another UCI kid from Valencia. Played high school in Valencia and at UCI and going to be a great hitter. Obviously.
The kid Griffin Cumming, the kid that the Angels took, he's a Santa Margarita alumnus.
Right.
Griffin.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Weren't you going to mention something about the Chargers?
Chargers, yeah.
Yeah, we ready to move to that. They're calling it a minor. No surgery needed for this herniated disc for Mike Williams. He's going to miss all OTAs. Mm-hmm. He's likely he's going to be very late. I don't know about you. I haven't had a herniated disc, but I've known people who've had herniated discs who don't have to do the type of running, jumping, and strenuous activity that a big guy like Mike Williams is going to have to do. I don't think he's going to be ready for camp.
It wouldn't shock me.
No.
It wouldn't shock me.
And I think surgery is in this kid's future. So now you've just, Bosa held out last year. Now their first, pick this year is on the shelf. He's probably going to be on the pup list.
And he did that in practice, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So when camp breaks, when they start camp in July, I think he's going to be on the physically unable to,
I would be very surprised, like you, if he if he was participating in that.
And
On a positive, Melvin Ingram resigned, so that's good.
yeah, I worry about that. And again, I was one of those guys that are saying, take McCaffrey. Take McCaffrey. You get a wide receiver, you get a tight end, running back. You get a lot of versatility with that. And they went back to back. They got Williams instead, and who knows how long he could be on the shelf.
I read something this morning. I don't know if you guys saw this about the possible backup down the road for Phillip Rivers.
No.
And an interesting thing came up with Teddy Bridgewater being a free agent in 2018, and that he possibly could be a guy that could come in and fill that role. He goes, if you give that guy weapons, right? He's a very precise quarterback. He's not really going to beat you too far down the field, but he's pretty precise as a quarterback, and they say he's very, very good at managing a football game, especially in the late third to fourth quarter.
That's where they need help.
We've had a lot of problems.
That's exactly right.
And I thought that was interesting how that came up, and that. Why would somebody be writing some about that? I mean, and obviously you would have to do your health, make sure he's 100% and being able to, handle playing quarterback again after that injury. But
they have no backup quarterback.
None.
Well, how will he be holding a clipboard for a few months? He should be fine to do that.
Right. Exactly. What I'm saying is you sign him next year and he plays behind Rivers for probably one more year and then. Or maybe 2 or whatever, but yeah, but you're going to get him. You're not going to. He's not going to be.
How old Rivers? 50, 60 years old. What is he?
Yeah.
Just his knees are 60.
He's gonna retire and then go to the senior tour right after. So.
College World Series, the Super 8.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be an unreal World Series. I thought that the teams that finally came down and won. By the way, I'm sorry, who won, Vanderbilt or Florida in that game? Not Vanderbilt, Florida or Wake Forest?
Florida.
Because there was some rain out. So Florida ended up going. Wow. So I just think you've got a lot of high-end baseball programs in Omaha. And I think it's going to be great. I think it is. I would just still assume that Oregon State's probably the team to beat. I mean, they're still going through. But the Mississippi States and I could have gone either way with Long Beach State or Cal State Fullerton. I thought it was a great series. Long Beach State had their opportunities in that game to win that game.
They had a lot of guys on base.
Yeah, and they just couldn't move runners and get them in
scoring
position. And so it was a great. I thought it was great. It was great that you had people in the stands.
Packed.
Packed.
And 3 days.
But I mean, probably some of them are neighbors. You know what I mean? It's just they play each other 9 times in the year.
Right.
And it's just it was a great series.
Well, one kid from I think a second baseman from Fullerton lives across the street from Blair Field.
Yeah,
he says, "Well, Long Beach never recruited me."
Right.
So,
yeah, and I like how they have past players there in Long Beach that come give them money for their program.
Oh, yeah.
And Tulowitzki built that thing in right field, and so it was. I thought it was great, but I think it's going to be phenomenal. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I don't know who's playing who.
Well,
when it comes to
Fullerton's reward for beating Long Beach is
Oregon State.
Number
probably.
1, Oregon State.
Yeah. So.
And the second game on that Saturday in bracket 1 is number 4 LSU and number 5 Florida State.
See, I just think it's going to be just great baseball.
They've got some good.
Yeah, what was fun was that Louisville versus Kentucky.
Yes.
Rivalry.
Right. And that's 2 good programs.
Yeah, Louisville advanced, and they'll play Texas A&M.
The kid from the Angels got drafted 1. He was supposed to go to Louisville. His sister plays softball there.
That's right.
And
Joe Adele.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great baseball. I can't wait to watch it. So it goes. When's it start?
Starts Saturday, and then
it goes for a good week or so, right? Or
Well, and then the 2 winners of the individual brackets go 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
But that second bracket on Sunday, early game is number 7 Louisville against number 2 Texas A&M, and then number 6 TCU against number 3 Florida.
Yeah, it's stacked. I mean, it's your top top 15, programs, in the nation. So, it's like, the only ones that were like probably up there that didn't make it was a Vanderbilt, a Kentucky, a Long Beach State. Other than that, I mean, it was great to see the Sam Houstons playing and Davidson and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but overall,
I was disappointed Davidson didn't advance so Steph Curry could show up and watch a game.
Show up. I heard today he was at a golf shop getting his clubs all bent and ready to go for his summer because he's probably getting all ready for that celebrity.
So you don't think he would have been watching Davidson in the College World Series?
Well, maybe watching it. I don't think he would have been there. No. Hey, honey, let's go to Omaha to watch some baseball. I don't see that happening.
I still can't get over Oregon State at 54-4.
He's turned that program. That program is just running on.
Great pitching. It really is outstanding pitching.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and was it Rasmussen who went pretty high? Won the first day, right? I don't remember what team picked him up, but such a such a good team, and not doing it. Not winning those games with a lot of long balls like we talked about last week. They had under 30. Less than 30 home runs on the season. Very similar to what, Fullerton does. So that should be some interesting games. But I think the pitching is just too good.
It's deep, too.
It's going to be,
They have deep pitching.
Yeah, they've got.
I don't think they're ever going to be out of a ball game.
Yeah, they've got like 3 Friday night pitchers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But I'm excited for it. Can't wait to watch it. Should be fun.
Little U.S. Open?
Oh, want to talk a little golf?
I want little predictions from you now on the conditions of the field.
Oh,
who's advantage and disadvantage?
Wow.
Hold on, let me get my gambling app up so I can.
I'm sure you're in contract with all the meteorologists down there.
I don't know if you guys are aware of Erin Hills. Erin Hills is a golf course that's just outside of Milwaukee. To be honest with you, out in the middle of nowhere. It's in farm country, USA.
Most of Wisconsin is.
Yeah, it is. The big acres. A guy bought it a long time ago, put his heart and soul into this. Ended up spending about $26 million on the whole property and losing it.
Oh boy!
And ended up selling it to another guy for $10.5 million. Lost money on the whole deal.
Wow!
And his whole idea was to get 3 designers on board. He actually got Mike Davis from the USGA to come on board and kind of see the property to see can this be a venue for the U.S. Open in the future? And Mike Davis slowly but surely started to go, wow, I think we can. This has got a Shinnecock Hills feel to it. There's very little trees. In fact, the golf course is very lynx-like.
I would think.
All built, and they have some heather, as they call it out there, that you can't advance it a foot. So
don't hit it into the heather.
No, you don't.
You don't want to be in the heather.
So what they're doing is they're widening these fairways 60 yards now. It's usually about 30.
Right.
So it's double what it is. Wind comes into play here, but I looked at the weather report. They've gotten very lucky with thunderstorms all last night into this morning. It's very wet, and it's going to be thunderstorms in and out until I think Thursday night. So that's going to, the USGA is all about fast and hard greens, and I think they're gonna lose that this year because of the conditions with the weather. Yeah. But for the golf tournament, other than I think one day, you should have pretty good weather. I think the no more than 13 to 14 miles an hour for wind, so it's not going to be too crazy on the wind.
Yeah.
It's the first It's the first time they've had a par 72 in the last 25 years.
Really?
The USGA likes to build to look at golf courses and turn par 5s into long par 4s. So they usually go par 70 or par 71 because they've turned some of those par 5s into par 4s. Mm-hmm. Well, this guy had so much acres to work for that back in the day when he first built it, you could actually stretch it out to 8,200 yards.
So what you had mentioned that a couple of weeks ago or last week that it's long.
Yeah.
It is long.
It's the longest opening hole they'll have at 560 yards for a par 5. And it's the longest finishing hole they'll have at like 618 yard par 5.
Oh my goodness!
But at least it's not a par 4.
Right, exactly. But here, let me educate you about that. They're going to have 4 par 4s that will be over 500 yards.
Okay.
Number 3, number 5,
That's nasty.
number 10, and number 17 will all be over 500 yards.
Par 4.
Okay, par 4s. Okay.
Okay.
Now they have said that there's not going to be one reachable par 5, but they possibly will look at the scoring. And so what the USGA does is they look at all possibilities on every single hole. So it wouldn't be shocking if these guys wake up one day and there's a 305 yard par 4, or there's a stretched out 295 to 300 yard par 3, or there's a 530 yard par 5. Now they don't know that. It's always a guessing game. They also will get to every single hole and they'll get at least 8 different pin spots, all based on what the weather's going to be like and where the wind direction's coming from, so they can actually play to, like, oh, you know what, it's going to be very wet, it's going to be very soft. They'll tuck pins to where you can't get to them. So you're going to see a lot of par 5 scoring with wedges in their hands instead of attacking and then being able to get it up and down around the green.
That's simply diabolical.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just nasty.
Yeah. So what the great thing is, they're probably going to play it at 7,700 yards, roughly.
What's par?
72.
72 on a 77 yard.
It's 7,700 yards. So that's probably going to be, they're usually playing about 7,200 yards. But again, they're turning a par 5 into a par 4, right? So they're shortening the golf course. So that's where that gets down to 70. But there's a lot of analysts who are saying we should play this thing at 8,000. Like, you know what? Just tee it up and let's go, right? Yeah. It's the hardest golf tournament of the year. You've widened those fairways. And by the way, when you say you've widened it, right? So it's widened 60 yards, right, from left to right. Then there's another 10 yards of rough, okay? And then there is stuff that you can't get out of. And what I mean by that, as I saw a couple videos where Lee Westwood says, I think my ball's over here, and out of the heather crawls his caddy. You couldn't see him when he was videotaping it. And then I popped up and he goes, here's your ball right here. So it's stuff that's almost knee high and thick that when you try to advance it, sometimes I can't hit it from me to you. So it's like if you're in there, it's a hazard. It's like you just hope somebody finds it for you so you can take an unplayable lie. So they're going to have a lot of rulings out there. It's going to be pretty unique. The other thing is the USGA doesn't have history on this golf course. This is the first time they've ever played there. So they don't know how pins are going to react and how the play is going to be. So that's new. The other thing is it's hard to pick somebody. How is it, horses for courses type of deal? Nobody's played this golf course in a tournament. Right? Now the guys have gone out and played, probably practice rounds, but it's going to be unique how it all unfolds. So that's kind of the history behind and what we're probably going to look into. When you look at the U.S. Open, you're looking at length off the tee, driving accuracy, putting, and short game. Iron play they're all great iron players, right? So when I went to look at, is DJ going to repeat, right? There's a lot of guys that I know that have said, I think he is going to repeat. I've actually stepped away from that due to the fact that he didn't play good in his last tournament, which was 2 weeks ago. I think he finished at 6 over par. And on Monday, he had a baby.
Had a baby?
He just had a baby boy, right, on Monday, right? So his wife,
he was in labor for a while.
That's got to be an Esquire.
His fiance, Paulina Gretzky. Yeah, they had another baby boy. And so
the great one.
They had a C-section on Monday. He jumped on a plane Monday night and came in Tuesday, either Monday night or Tuesday morning, right? So he's on the grounds, and he's probably obviously played there prior. But I just think too many things are happening fast, and now he's going to have to do his media stuff all day tomorrow. And he's a defending champion. He's under a microscope. If he drives the ball well, I think he has a great chance to win. I'm just wondering from his past tournament two weeks ago. He's probably had time to figure it out, but it's hard to repeat as a U.S. Open. I think Curtis Strange did it in 86, 87 was the last one to ever do that.
This isn't exactly a par-friendly course.
No, it's
What's the cut going to be?
You don't know. You don't know till Thursday. You kind of look at the middle price and add a shot. So
you don't know. Plus, you don't know how they're going
to. That's the other thing. I mean, you could have this at 2 over par winning. And you could also have it 16 under par winning. You just don't know how the conditions are gonna and how everybody's gonna play this golf course. Because there's no history to this golf course. Getting down to it, I broken it down a little bit. I'm not going to give you a pick. I have a couple picks. Because it's a very links style golf course, I kind of steer towards the European players. I like Rory, but I don't like that he's been hurt. And he's had rib issues. I mean, what if he hits it in the junk and he's got to take a swing and hurts himself? But it steers towards him because he's so long, he's pretty straight, and it's a links, and he's grew up on that, right? I think Sergio has a great chance. He drives the ball phenomenally, and he's a great ball striker. He scares me a little bit with his putter. He's great with his short game, but I think Sergio is a guy that actually could win the first 2 majors. He's got a good chance. The young one, John Rahm, Spanish kid, but he played at Arizona State, hits it long. He's actually been playing with great confidence. I think he's got a chance to win also. My 2 Americans are Fowler and Spieth, and that's more based on their short game. They're very good around the greens. They're having good years with scoring their golf ball. They do hit it on the they're
you gotta hit
a little bit below average on length off the tee, but they've played in wind, at Texas and Oklahoma State. So I think they have a chance. I have 2 sleepers.
Here we go.
2 sleepers.
Okay, check the odds right here.
Okay.
All right. I have a guy named Tony Finau.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Big kid, bombs it. And he hits it high with his iron, so I think he's got. And Shane Lowry from Ireland. Shane Lowry.
Lowry plus 6,600.
Wow, there you go.
I bet that.
Yeah.
And I can't find the other guy.
Yeah, he's probably when it says the field, right? Tony Finau. But Lowry played great in the last 2 U.S. Opens. He's now getting an eye off the golf course of a links style, which he grew up on. He's played very well on links golf courses. And he drives the ball very well. So my 2 sleepers are Finau and Lowry. So
I am not seeing Finau at all. So he probably is in the field, but Lowry plus 6,600. So here are the favorites. Dustin Johnson,
right,
as we said, plus 750. Jordan Spieth plus 1,200, as is Rory McIlroy.
Okay.
Jason Day plus 1,400. John Rahm plus 2,000.
Sergio.
Ricky Fowler plus 2,000, Justin Rose plus 2,200, and Sergio Garcia plus 2,200. Right. And then it starts to drop from there to Hideki Matsuyama plus 2,800 and Henrik Stenson at plus 2,800. Yeah. And those are good numbers. So my advice to you is to bet the Lowry at plus 6,600 and Finau at whatever his odds are. He's got to be more than... He's not on here, so he's got to be more than... 17 plus 17,500.
There we go. So that's my take on the Open. It starts on Thursday, ends on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And it should be fun. It's hard to predict this kind of a winner due to the fact that we have no history on this golf course as these guys playing in it, or even in an Open. Right. But this golf course has been closed for 8 months. So there's no members. It's a public golf course, and they shut it down. So they went right from the winter straight into prepping it for the Open. So it's been open only for participants in the Open to play.
Why did they select this course?
Well, I don't know. I think they got the USGA up there and they looked at it, and the USGA asked them to do a couple of these tweaks. They said no problem, we'll do those tweaks, and and
Rest is
they
history.
decided to have it in. Plus, Wisconsin. I mean, it's a great. Well, they can draw actually from Illinois too, so the place will be packed.
Okay.
It will be packed. How the logistics are and the infrastructure to get people. I've heard, and by the way, the other thing I heard about this golf course is you need to be physically fit, which actually hurts Lowry a little bit. But they say it's a long walk. It is a very long walk. So that's the other thing. So
I'm glad you decided not to participate.
yeah, I actually thought about it, and I joined Phil. I decided to withdraw. So, but what's really weird about this is Phil's caddy's out there doing homework. So I don't know what's going on here.
Really?
I had heard that he had to commit by, I think, today. And but there were pictures of his caddy Bones out there doing.
Maybe he's
homework.
waiting to get the report.
Well, I think he was kind of looking at everything when it came down to if it was absolutely possible for him to get there and do this. But I think he had to commit by today.
Okay.
Well, knowing what we know about Bones, he's probably just for the next time there's a tournament at that golf course.
Right.
Just taking his notes.
Or he's so good.
He's
Yeah,
well prepared.
Exactly. Yeah, true. And he's actually very good at what he does. And there could have been another guy that says, "Hey, I'll pay you to go
Right.
do your notes and give them to me and do some stuff." So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Little consulting.
Or he's picking up a bag for the week because he had already scheduled to be there, and somebody says, "I'll take you on for the week." I have no idea. I got to look into that a little bit more.
Interesting.
So yeah.
All right. Is that a wrap for today?
That's all.
Sounds
I
like
got.
it.
Yeah. That's
Before
all I
we
got.
go, I want to once again remind our listeners, be on the show. Go to the website. There's a icon on the right-hand side you can click on. Submit a voicemail, and we will play that and respond to it. So if you don't like the fact that Ginobili
That we don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Well, I said he's
Go
not
ahead.
an NBA Hall of Fame.
go ahead and call us and let us hear what you have to say. All right.
Try not to be profane. SoCalSportsReport.com.
That's right.
Yeah.
Family oriented.
Click on the icon.
So that's it for today then. We are out.
Good night.
Peace.